Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Rob Arnold. I'm the executive director here at Poets House. I'm so excited for this evening. I'm just here to give a quick, brief welcome, and I also want to give maybe a very less brief but enthusiastic gratitude and shout out to our partners, Battery Park City Authority, who have so generously funded many of our programs, including tonight's program. They've been really incredible partners for us and supporters for the work we do. So please give a quick round of applause to the Battery Park City Authority, really incredible friends of Poets House and of poetry. These times are dehumanizing times. And they're dehumanizing here, they're dehumanizing, all over the world. But it is my conviction that poetry is a humanizing force. The other arts as well, but I think for me it's poetry. It is fiercely humanizing, and I think we're going to hear some of that tonight. And poetry is also a language custom built for intensity and for holding human emotion and human intensity. So with that, I'm going to bring up my colleague, Fritha Strand, who's going to be our MC for the evening. But again, thank you so much for being here. Really excited for this evening. Thank you.
Hello. You're a little taller than me. Thanks, Rob. Hi, I'm Fritha Strand. Welcome to Poets House and our 30th showcase exhibition. Take a gander. It's featuring thousands of new poetry books and poetry-related texts published in the U.S. and abroad. We want to thank you all for being here and extend our special thanks to the Battery Park City Authority for their generous support. Tonight, we are honored to welcome 4 poets represented in the exhibition. Now I'm going to do my best here. Ahmad Almallah, Mandy Shunnarah, Fargo Nissim Tbakhi, and Lena Khalaf Tuffaha. Thank you all for being here. Whose works bear witness, speaks truth, and offers space for grief, resistance, and solidarity in response to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Not change the page yet. The showcase exhibition around us focuses on published works from 2004 and 2024 and 2025. While this focus illuminates the wonderful breadth of poetry presented in printed form, it's difficult to reconcile any kind of art making during a time of profound violence against Palestinian people. Without further ado, as Ahmad Almallah reminded us recently, to publish a book is a privilege, especially at this time of genocide in Gaza and Palestine. In gathering tonight and in calling up the incongruencies of art, poetry, and normalcy in a time of such grief, we hope to take up the call of turning, quote, all eyes and ears and other senses to Gaza and Palestine. Following tonight's reading, we will have a special reception upstairs. Many thanks to Margot Vescusi for her supplemental support. Books will be for sale following the event in the lobby. All donations and proceeds from book sales that would otherwise benefit Poets House will be donated to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. Now, without further ado, Ahmad Almallah grew up in Bethlehem, Palestine, and currently lives in Philadelphia, where he is an artist in residence in creative writing at the University of Pennsylvania. He's the author of 3 books of poetry. His most recent book, Wrong Winds, was published this spring by Fonograf Editions. Please welcome Ahmad Almallah.
Thank you so much for getting us together. I'm so honored to be in the presence of Lena Khalaf Tuffaha, and so honored to be reading with Fargo again and to meet you for the first time. Yeah, but yeah, thank you. And free Palestine, free Gaza. Okay, so I'll read a poem from each book, and then I'll read a little bit from this new projects that I'm working on. Mainly a kind of a memoir about my childhood under Israeli occupation. So this could be like a way of warming up to that. There's this poem called "The House Searched." 1. The house searched is not something that gives way to form. My attempts to put it to some rhythm and sound always turn out to be laughable, at least for me. I read what I put down in lines about it, and I can't take my own experience seriously. And I'm thinking, am I really wired in such a way to produce all these cliches of war? To reproduce all the images we've been seeing in movies, in the news? Why can't I take myself seriously? I'm experiencing a movie-like moment, some momentary empathy towards that boy I was, and then cut. We're in a different time and place, aren't we? There's no need to fret over disaster. 2. My wife tells me of her own experience with house searches. She lived in the south of Lebanon, and it seems the protocol is one, standardized. A higher-ranking military officer leads the house search, ordering the door open with a bang, not so speak, walks in the house accompanied by 2 soldiers. He brings out of his throat a broken kind of Arabic, talks to the head of the household with it in a polite, courteous manner. A real gentleman he was, my father said. There is a curious exchange between him and his 2 soldiers. They want to rush to conclusions. They want to take and break. But the polite officer begs them patience, restraint, talks sense into them, while other soldiers in the background are taking apart everything, opening the closets, ripping the mattresses open with a blade sticking out of their rifles. I won't use the words machine gun or M16. They sound too overdramatic, and regardless, 1 or 2 soldiers go up to the stairs to the roof. I've been through it, but I don't remember any of it. I'm merely comparing notes here. What my father said and what my wife is now telling me. She gets animated, starts speeding up the pace of events. Something inside of her is stirring or being stirred. Her face is suddenly flushed. She's getting tired of her own maneuvers at conveying. Why? I want to laugh now. This was supposed to be an ironic line. All right. I read another one from Border Wisdom. It's like, you have to read one from each book, I guess. You understand me. All right. So I like this piece that I read in Arabic. Or I could read this. This is good for now. It's called After 10. When I went home for the first time, after 10 years of absence, as I like to say, I was hungry for home, tried to take everything in, to document according to the new trend. I took pictures of everything on my new digital camera. Walking around beside myself, I took pictures of shrubs, rocks, railings, stairs, plates. I even took pictures of pictures. Everything is here, in the palm of my hand, to take back to America for show and tell. There I was after my 10 years of absence, wrapped in a Palestinian scarf, playing the part. I gathered both father and mother for another picture, sat them together on the couch, set the timer in order to sneak in between the two that made me, then snap like it never happened. It kind of feels like the feeling of my entire life. Like snap like it never happened. That seems to be like the the persistent noise of the world. That's what's telling you. It's like snap like it never happened. But you know what? It's actually happening. And it's fucking horrible. And that's what I want to kind of pay attention to here. And these poems from Wrong Winds, which I dedicated to Gaza at that time. And at that time, we were talking about 1 year of genocide, and now we're almost 3 years of genocide. So, wake the fuck up, world. This is called My Tongue is Tied Up Today. And so my tongue is tied up today. Maybe I am certain it will be something between jaws. Maybe it could be just that slab of meat on its own, without any language, and then I'll swallow my pride without the bitter taste of meaning. And then my motherland and tongue will call onto me my name. And something against those leaves in this country that sides against me every time bombs fall on Palestine. It's fall, the fall. The one leaf that follows me I fail to catch. Before hitting ground, why did I buy this lie, or why can't I buy it? The blowers blow leaves and dust in the face of words falling again. Why can't I catch any of them? And for my eyes, this is forget it. How many times have we said it? If we'd be true to any cause, we would simply stop, because no name can or could, no yes, no amount of longing can take back what we've applied to our sufferings in numbers. And the snow that serves as smudge, thelj, is another key. The door is locked like metaphor. None know the secret to any. We walk among the flags, covering the ground with the deaths of another land. Yes, this is the cold setting in. This is the nothing that there was. And winter is the outcome. Something of the fall remains in those names, hung for the eyes to come to turn, and terms of disaster. Name the nameless now. Where's my hand? Some find theirs where they left them. Some look for fingers among the rubble, and some live to see others die. And we keep repeating the count. Texts, messages, more messages, and texts, till meaning is just a loop, repeating itself to itself. Thank you. So I read two things. I'll read a little bit of this memoir that I'm working on. And I chose to kind of narrate the story of this child of the memoir in a third person narrative. And what I included as in the eye of the usual memoir, I included as kind of recorded material or as transcriptions of recorded material. So this is one of those sections that talk about the child that I call A. An incredible block of time was being formed in A's life after that trip to Amman. A few days with his home terror figure were enough to destroy his life. Right after that trip, when he was alone at Philly at last, he thought the nightmares began differently. Unlike the jumble of images that he used to get, the ones that drenched him in sweat, he started having the most vivid and lucid images. Everything was clear in them. The new phase in the timeline of the genocide in Gaza was the horror of defeat in A's minds. His defeat with his father and his inability to stand up to him and to put up a fight settled in his soul as the biggest stone. Human blood, an incredible amount of it, started flowing out of the stone, a miracle drenched in the pure horror of witnessing without being able to say anything. How this time with his father was a mirror of what has been happening to him as a Palestinian with a Muslim name, and to top it off, a male. Wasn't this the very definition of evil in the Make America Great era? But let there be no confusion. A knew that the so-called liberals were no different. They were only sly in their cowardly reduction of him to the same terms. He was a menace to everyone, as though America was whispering to him, "You should have not existed in the first place to offend us all." It had to be a whisper in the midst of this vast silence about the genocide in Gaza and Palestine. No one was taking action anymore. Everybody settled into this new real for the Palestinians. The ones who supported his oppressors never stopped, while the sympathetic liberals were getting tired. They wanted to take a break, go to some beach, be on vacation. His silencing was being filed into the vast silence about the genocide. His body was also being filed among the dead, Palestinians that were sentenced to silence by mass massacres in Gaza, by the slower massacres in the West Bank, where his mother's grave is, or Binat. He didn't know. The only thing he was sure about, that he is defeated. He felt that he became now a part of that silence. The stone that settled into his soul bled, and the dust in it began to wake up at night. He has experienced all of this before. He had his whole childhood under occupation to compare and mirror to the horrors he saw in Palestine. And in August of 2025, he returned to Philly and had his first nightmare about drones. But before drones, there was the choppers, as the Americans call them. This is a better name than helicopters. In 1987, when the Intifada started for the first time, A was about 5. He was on the flat roof of his house playing with mala'it, the clips that his mother used to hang the clothes on a wire so they would be hit by the scorching midday sun. Was he preparing for his mother's appearance so he could see her in the act? I don't know. He was there all right, and out of nowhere, as it took him by surprise, one of them choppers appeared. It was right in front of him, and his small body started getting blown by its blades. Out of some instinct, he abandoned his play and docked on the surface of the roof, not where he was exactly standing, but in the corner by the concrete railings of the roof. That corner was just painted with tar, and he felt the blades pressing him into the black surface. His body was burning from the dark tar. His face was beginning to scorch, and he started crying from the pain, rather from fear. The chopper hanged on for a while, and he felt that the tar was melting into him. It was so close that he felt it was going to land on the roof of his house, and the thought terrified him. Then he did something quite dangerous. He stood up and looked at the big machine hanging over his head. He saw the soldiers with their machine guns. They were so close, and it appeared that he's standing, and them realizing that it was a small body of a child calmed their nerves. One of the soldiers waved, and they broke in laughter, and the machine began to elevate, though its sound settled into his brain, and he felt it being shaken inside his head. He ran towards the door of the room on the roof, to its shade, to the staircase of his mother. She was not there. He ran down the stairs and went straight to the kitchen. She was there. He stood there in front of her, wanting to run to her embrace, but he didn't. His body was burning as though it has been ironed. His face was scorched. She ran to him with a look of horror, and she also began to cry. Without saying anything, she sat him down and gently eased his body into the chair. It was clear that the child is terrified, shaken, almost in disbelief that he is still alive. She knew not to touch where it hurts him. She slipped her hand at the back of his head and started saying the first verse of the Quran with steady repetition. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This has made her presence clear to the terrified child. She started repeating, Khalas mafi, khalas mafi, khalas mafi. She didn't know what violence has befallen the kid, and the phrase was her instinct working at its best to calm the child. It's okay. There is no. It's okay. There is no. Yes, there is no. And whenever I start to Google anything that starts with is, the Israeli flag appears instantly as the first thing to be seen. Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this narrative? A is not I. Thank you.
I believe I missed part of your name. But without, thank you so much. Up next, we have Mandy Shunnarah, an Alabama-born Appalachian and Palestinian-American writer based in Columbus, Ohio. They are the author of Midwest Shreds, Skating Through America's Heartland, and the poetry collection We Had Mansions by Diode Editions. Please welcome Mandy Shunnarah.
You're quite a bit taller than me. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know y'all could be doing anything, and you chose to be here, so it means a lot to me. It means a lot to all of us. Thank you, Poets House. It's an honor to be here. I'm going to be reading a couple of poems from my first debut poetry collection, We Had Mansions. It is truly a love letter to my grandparents, who I call Sido and Teta. That's just grandfather and grandmother in Arabic. After they were exiled in the Nakba, they ended up in the Birmingham, Alabama area of all places. So there's a whole crop of Palestinians with Southern accents. So I come by it honestly. Just goes to show that we are everywhere. So this first poem is called Ars Poetica of Partridges in Palestine. Cito told me once our last name means partridge, that sweet little bird in the pear tree every Christmas. I'm looking for metaphors on Wikipedia again. It's easy to write poems about birds with so many species of partridges. National Geographic says 43 of those species are decreasing in population, something Palestinians know all too well. People like poems about birds more than they like poems about Palestine and actual Palestine and her endangered people. We just won't go extinct quickly enough. But I digress. That's not the metaphor I'm looking for just yet. An avian ecologist said partridges are ground dwellers, unlikely to roost in pear trees. So those first day of Christmas birds of the family Phasinidae, presents from one's true love, were put in pear trees against their will, branches like an open-air prison the world ignores because at least they can still see sky. Some might say I'm reaching, but that's what metaphors do. Yet inside them, there's always a feather of truth. This, I know, when it comes to partridges and Palestine, the pervasive popular messaging around us both is false. The difference is, everyone knows killing birds is wrong. So I worked as a journalist on and off since 2009, and so I obviously have a lot of big feelings, particularly about how Western media is handling the genocide. And Western media is absolutely fumbling it. No exaggeration there. And I'm sure we all remember the 40 dead babies hoax. And I have a lot of feelings about these Western media outlets that just are stenographers for the occupation, and they don't actually dig into the facts or the story. They don't talk to anyone on the ground. They just regurgitate, Israel says, Israel says, Israel says. And then days, weeks, months later, they'll do investigations that prove what Palestinians have been saying the entire time. And so then they'll issue these corrections that are always way after the fact, after the lie has already taken on a life of its own. So I wrote a very angry poem that begins with an epigraph that was a tweet by CNN reporter Sarah Sidner. She said, quote, "Yesterday, the Israeli Prime Minister's office said that it had confirmed Hamas beheaded babies and children while we were live on air. The Israeli government now says it cannot, in all caps, confirm babies were beheaded. I needed to be more careful with my words, and I am sorry." So this poem, The Damage Has Been Done, is my fuck you to Sarah Sidner, CNN, and Western media in general. If only apologies could bring the dead back, uncrush the child's skull under stories of fallen apartment buildings, unspool the bullet from the pregnant woman's back, un-airstrike Gaza. If only newspaper corrections issued hours or days later, and always at the bottom of the page, could resurrect our martyrs, restore the child's skin so his parents could identify his face. If only propaganda were an innocent mistake that didn't lead to a boy stabbed in Chicago and calls for Palestinians to be hunted in Dearborn. Oh, innocent mistake, that fatal oxymoron. If only regretful notes could be printed on shrouds, then those apologies might be good for something. The damage has been done. Our morgues are full, as well as our ice cream trucks and our mass graves. We're running out of flags and white sheets to bury our dead. Sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. And then, of course, I have to read my pissed off Palestinian in diaspora poem, one of many in this book. This one, I'm sure we've all seen Noor Hindi's very viral poem, "Fuck Your Lecture on Craft, My People Are Dying," and I know that that's the one that gets like passed around a lot, but there's so much power in it, and I was very inspired by it. So this one is after that poem. It's called "The Rage of the Diaspora." I grieve with and for the homeland, my kith and kin, my skin. I grieve with and for the people on and in the ground. An occupier says, "Free Palestinian flag 6 feet under," and I weep for how our flag gets used for shrouds. I wear my kufiya like armor and docks like military boots. A man asks, "Do you support terrorists? Would you murder me if I visited my family in Israel?" And chafes when I ask the same. With mandatory military service, it's not if he has murdered, but who. I buy coffee, wondering how many have sipped their last, and pay the taxes that will buy rockets to murder my cousins. There is no ethical consumption under America. Western media says we invaded our own country. I eat grape leaves thinking of my teta and the suitcases she brought to this country for a life broader than border walls. I Google white phosphorus and butterfly bullets, read up on international human rights law. Fuck your theory, your thought exercise, your whataboutism, your both sides centrist kumbaya naivete. My people are dying. Like us when we resist as much as you like when we're good little victims. Say land back and mean it. Say decolonize and live it. I eat caramelized figs from a Palestinian deli straight from the jar, letting the juice thread through my fingers, become glue on my knuckles and tendril down my forearms. Their succulence has never been so sweet. And I begin to think, if it's monsters they want, we might as well show them our teeth. So with my grandparents ending up in the Alabama area, they were there in the 1950s, so as the rise of the civil rights movement was happening, and they were certainly not immune to racism and xenophobia. And so they actually chose not to teach their children Arabic because they were so maligned for having accents. So I unfortunately cannot speak it, though I totally understand why they made the decision they did. But I've been trying to learn as an adult, and it has been very difficult. Because I realized that there are over 12 million words in Arabic as opposed to 175,000 in the Oxford English Dictionary. And as I've been trying to learn Arabic as an adult, I keep getting distracted by the really poetic and gorgeous translations of like otherwise simple words. And so when learning the word for good night, I saw that the literal translation was, "I hope you wake up to goodness," which inspired this poem. I hope you wake up to goodness. In English, mothers tell their children good night, a kind but useless gesture. Good or not, the night always comes. In Arabic, the language that should have been my mother tongue, we say, "I hope you wake up to goodness." On the other side of the world, unable to sleep for the sounds of bombing, mothers and Haza pray, "I hope you wake up to goodness or not, I just hope you wake." So in October 2023, obviously, like every Palestinian on earth is very depressed and upset. And, you know, it was weird being in the diaspora because it's like you want to help, you want to do something, but you feel disconnected. And then a couple of months later, I got separated from my spouse, so it was like there was an international grief for my people. There's the national grief of the U.S. not doing anything to help my people, and then my personal life was in complete disarray because I was getting divorced. So I just had a lot of stuff going on, and I started thinking about just all of that. And I ended up writing this poem that I'm about to read next, which is a letter to my younger self of like 12 years ago. And it begins with an epigraph from another poem, actually. The epigraph is from The Inheritance by Stephen Dunn. Quote, "Why not just try to settle in, take your place, however undeserved, among the fortunate? Why not trust that almost everyone, even in his own house, is a troubled guest?" So I wrote this poem to an attempt to reckon with my privilege, and the poem is called "To the Troubled House Guest of My Once and Future Self." I try not to laugh at you, who couldn't have known yet that it gets better is only more truth than platitude if you hold on long enough. You used to weep in your campus apartment for a cheap old house in a mid-sized city, big enough for a desk and yoga mat, a built-in bookshelf, cats basking in the windows, and curbside recycling. The luxury of an unpretentious life lived well. My love, you got the house and the cats, the desk and the mat, in a city greener than not, and a neighbor who teaches you the names of yard botanies and listens when you tell her the one you know well. The fruitless grapevine that clings to your bush is the same varietal that twines Cito and Teta's chain-link fence, the one she plucked to make grape leaves, your favorite. The neighbor will die peacefully of old age, and you'll take in her cat, who will perch in the window with the view of the home she can't return to, howls of longing punctuating her days, and you'll wonder if she'd have rather died than leave. After, you'll lose the husband but keep the house and most of the cats. You will weep for him once but live twice. You keep the house with the inheritance from your grandfather, exiled from his own first home. What's the benefit of hindsight, if not its comedy, if not the slapstick of your existence? Buying a home in the seat of empire while your friends suffer landlords thanks to your Philistini family, and your property taxes fund the whores that murder your cousins. You'll think of this every day, but keep the knives in the block this time, flush the leftover opioids from ankle surgery, and remember to drink water. And as you write this, on the eve of another ceasefire where the fire doesn't cease, reading the news as the clouder of cats crowds your lap, you'll gaze at the black and white photo of Siti, your great-grandmother, and her Ramallah tattoos, taken in 1946, the year your house was built, and recall the story of her refusal when Cito came to this country, saying, "I was born in Palestine and I will die in Palestine. I just want it to be free." Womb empty, you still carry her dream. You will be gloriously and improbably alive on this burning planet, glad you stayed to see our wanting turn becoming. How are we doing on time? Okay, because I've got one more I'd love to read. So having been a journalist for much of my adult life, when I saw Naomi Shihab Nye's collection, Tiny Journalist, I immediately went out and got it. It's perhaps my favorite poetry collection of all time. I cannot recommend it highly enough. So please do yourself a favor and get Tiny Journalist. But there was this line in her poem Jana that I really loved that is now the epigraph to this poem. The quote is, "They blame us for everything, forgetting what they took and how they took it. The saddest part, we all could have had twice as many friends." So this is Prayer Ghazal. Arabs are known for our hospitality, but goddamn, we accepted shoeless refugees as neighbors, goddamn. We welcomed their ships on our shores, goddamn, but we didn't mean for them to take it all, goddamn. It's awful what they went through, but it wasn't our fault, goddamn. Why not plunder Europe, not commit theft of our land, goddamn? We could have had twice as many friends, ya Allah, goddamn. We invited you in and are now asking you leave, goddamn. These colonizer guests always overstay their welcome, goddamn. Now that the world sees, so may we free Palestine, inshallah, goddamn. So That was my last poem. Thank you so much for coming out. Free Palestine. Please give as generously as your means will allow. It's really important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow. Whew. It keeps going. Next up, we have Fargo Nissim Tbakhi. Did I say it right? Awesome. It's a cool name. If you all haven't seen it, visually, I'm very visual. It's like, it's a beautiful, beautiful name. I missed that one, but I'm glad you're laughing. Fargo is a Palestinian performance artist and poet. They are the author of Terror Counter, published by Deep Vellum in 2025, and a second book, Antigone Velocity Salt, forthcoming from Deep Vellum. Please welcome Fargo Nissim Tbakhi.
Hello. Would you like to hear a Palestinian joke? Yeah? Okay. There are 3 spies walking through the woods. Yeah. I love this joke. A CIA agent, a KGB agent, and an agent of the Shin Bet, the Israeli security forces. And they come across this rabbit, and they decide to make a bet. They're going to see which of them can catch the rabbit the fastest. So they send the rabbit off into the woods, and the CIA agent goes first. He says, watch this. And he goes off into the woods after the rabbit. 5 minutes go by. 10 minutes go by. And he comes back with the rabbit. And the KGB agent, he says, that's nothing. Watch this. See how we do it in Russia. So they send the rabbit away. He goes after the rabbit. 5 minutes go by. 6 minutes go by. 7 minutes go by. He comes back with the rabbit. And the Shin Bet agent says, that's nothing. You're going to see how we do it in Israel. So they send the rabbit away. And he goes off after it. And 5 minutes go by. 10 minutes go by. 15 minutes go by. Half an hour. 45 minutes. Now the other 2 think something's wrong. And so they go off into the woods in search of what happened. And they come across this clearing. And as they're walking in the clearing, they can hear some noise happening. They hear something that sounds like shouting. And they come across the clearing. And there's the agent of the Shin Bet with a donkey. And he's holding the donkey, and he's hitting the donkey over and over again. He's hitting the donkey with an open hand and then with a closed hand, and he's hitting the donkey with a stick in places where the marks won't show, and then he's electrocuting the donkey in its sensitive areas, and then he's hanging the donkey up by its feet for hours, and then he's putting the donkey in a chair that makes it extremely uncomfortable to sit for extended periods of time, and then he's threatening the donkey's entire family with death and dismemberment, and then he's slowly restricting the donkey's caloric intake so that it starves to death, and he's encouraging the donkey to kill itself. And the entire time he's shouting something over and over again. He's saying, admit you're the rabbit, admit you're the rabbit, admit you're the rabbit. I think it's funny. Yeah. Service for S. You are pleasant. This much I can guess. This much I can ascertain, peering from the stage across the thin membrane which separates us. Membrane which is an agreement about our respective positions. Your dowager needs. Your Hyundais and New Balances. My ideation, passive, constant. My fright, smokes, mirrors, gentle coughs, murmurs of dinner, run time, the storm outside swelling, could get lightning. Some well-meaning blushes, the solidarity of your capillaries. You come from kind-hearted groups or from newsletters. You eat every day. These aspersions I cast. I can see through your shapes, to all the corpses standing quiet behind you, how to speak to those corpses without disturbing the rest, how to say the only thing worth saying to the only people who'll listen. What you pay or mostly don't pay for is to receive the thing I cannot give without consequence. Consequence I've lived in fear of my entire life on this earth. You want from me in ways I do not understand. I guess what to sign. What I want from you is elusive to me. It is a hole I know you can't fill, but I ask you to anyway. All I know, this asking without possibility of answer. Prayers to a divinity composed of twice-mortgaged buildings, strongly worded letters, privation. Always, the corpses echoed whispers, their feedback muffled by the bodies inside this room. These pleasant people are in the way. My straining to listen, to understand what the words do and don't, if the speech acts, where the heat is, why it is not ever where I am. You loathe what I need from you. I loathe that I need it at all, never having understood if I could belong for this world which takes from my speech permission to eat me, eats me for the rest of its life. And here I am trying to say some truth to people who have relinquished the possibility of hearing it. This life I've accepted as real, this work I've believed to be all. The dead surround the living are the core of the dead, yet here are not my living, unreachable my dead, only your miserable hands, their rueful applause. What I am to you I can't forget. What you are to me makes me sick. The truth, when the lightning comes, if it ever comes, I pray it strikes me, yes. Not that it strikes only me. Not that I leave here still lonely. Paranoia blessing. Move, they said, so move I did. I did not want to go towards the lens. The view was bleak. Inside my rods and cones, I turned them inside out to see myself. It was a pretty form, will get you wound around yourself. A woven sky, someone looking down at me. I'm looking back at them. They are housed inside the sniper's nest. 1,000 yards ago in secret meetings, I was found wanting more and more to be a pillar, be licked into oblivion, a welcome home, a village pit. The dogs can't find me. The river hides my scent from them. A bird eats my hair, so I eat the bird. The world eats my family. I can't fit the world in my mouth. Sounds are escalating through militant dimensions in space. No one can hear you. They redact you while you're still speaking. I'm operative. I'm highly charged. I cannot breathe or sleep at night. The bird keeps singing, so I will too, although the song is brutal to my soul. My debts are large. They are exerting pressure from above, more and more to be nullified in the aggregate, though the aggregate swells. Discontent with fascist bread, I dip in the river and swallow. Somehow, look at my hands. I'm grayscale. My pulse, I can't tell if it continues somewhere. There is a way to be alive, but I know it's not here. There are times between us. I can't feel love across the bars. I'm a sharpened contradiction. I'm salt, emergent, world sky burn. The bird is telling me I need to be terrible to get to that somewhere. Good Lord, last sky rain upon me all the terror I can handle. They're looking down upon my fear. I must transform it into hate. I look at them, they look at me, but now I break my jaw apart to get them in, dissolve their bones. When I look back, it's through a scope. Olive tree pastoral. They mean something. These family gnarls, twisted angels, each branch might be a lesson in history, that object of weight and recourse, each olive, a divine spirit of a young boy hurling a stone, hurled away himself from a nation too heavy to hold him up. The roots of the olive tree grow deep, stronger than any metal, holding all of us to the land with them. Oh, leaves of mercy, great brown guardians of the field, shading the hills where our forefathers sweat, where our foremothers baked bread to feed a people. Oh, little spheres, worlds pulped down to oil, which coated a young woman's throat so she might yell a chant so angry she burst into bloom. I recite to the American art curator. She holds my hands, her eyes solemn, wet with wonder and pity. Yes, she says, yes. Beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you for your words. She will now go home and forget about me until I email to remind her to send in the recommendation letter for the grant to which I'm applying, which I will not get, but will be honored to be a finalist for. I walk out of her gallery, clutching my poems to my chest, stepping on concrete, and passing a grove that I don't look at, and that doesn't look at me. Craft talk. The first image, a little girl's body pulled out of the rubble, I strike from the poem. Let her rest. Language is a failed state. The second image, my own body stripped and hung by my fingers, less their nails piled neatly on a nearby table, I keep. The poem is a space to rehearse for the future. The third image, a dictum of power, something like the state is, or the Guggenheim-winning poet is. This I soften and blur. In my weakest moments, I still succumb to the desire for a book deal and avoid threatening its keepers. The fourth image, rubble alone pulled from the mouth of my body hanging from a hook in the black site. This image I widen so it envelops the entire page, yellow bile coating the margins. I am interested in frightening you. I do not want to be alone anymore. The fifth image, a drone giving birth to a child with gold leaf on its fingernails. I wipe the mucus off. I give it a name. At the edge of the poem, the baby slouches toward Jerusalem. When it crosses the border, the poem can no longer see it. The drone child becomes an imagined condition the poem has released into the world. I do not know what it intends. I do not know what it will eat. The sixth image, my father, dragged into the poem against his will once more. I suspend him here with me. I revel in our togetherness. His nails join mine. Our backs are cut. Our eyes plucked out. The cruelty of jailers infected my language. Everything I love, I turn to cruelty. The poem now is just another cell. All I know is how to write us dead. Inside this image, I reach out my little toe and touch the image of my father's little toe. The state is crueler than your poem ever could be. I make the poem, make my father say. Oh, interesting. It's just funny when people clap or when they don't clap. At some point, there's a collective agreement in the audience that either they're going to clap or they're not going to clap. And then everyone's always negotiating whether they're going to do it. And especially with poems, like someone reads a really intense poem, and if you've already established that you clap after it, then you have to just like clap for, you know, someone saying something really horrible. It's a tense and toxic situation that we find ourselves in. Nice. Exchange value. My relationship with my father is simple. He lets me write about him in poems I sell for $15 each. Collected in this book, I sell for a $750 advance. I send him another $550 this month to keep his daughters enrolled in school. So which of us the 20 yards of cloth? which the coat. So who values us? Who keeps us warm? And now you're always going to be wondering, well, now he talked about clapping. Should I not clap? Yeah, there we go. Songs of Unnaming. 1. The grand jury repeats and re-alleges the sweetest thing in the universe is an honest person. I'm building my knowledge and to obtain money and property from those mortgage lenders by means of the upset. Everyone has a story. I cry every day. I've been praying for all the time. Actually, sadness inside him at all times relevant to this indictment. They called it a box, but it's basically wood, and that's why it's called a world. And others known and unknown to the grand jury read this to find themselves in some lines unbelievable that no one lacks anything. For God's sake, life takes from everyone. 2. O God, grant us bodies federally a relief from the masterpieces in chartered and insured good tidings. We, the company depository institutions, love the days that of honorable ease the people. There is a down payment, credit, mercies that no power or from seller to continue newly strength, buyer, toys, built fraudulent shoes, sun, scheme in multi-unit substance as set, glasses, the days of adversity and affliction, multi-unit condominium properties, 4th Fannie Mae, Form 1003, material false in some lines and fraudulent love, morals, and or Freddie Mac, Form 65, the pretenses, the best trades, attainment of representations, the wellness, hope, the that we are, pleasure of, and promises, blessed with the forgiveness and the certainty that it's nothing I wanted, relieves hearts, concealment of material facts for us to be together, that this indictment building that you were here. 3. Lender relies on the accuracy of the of. I had a great dream a while ago, and someone who cries every day on people gone from the world, and someone suffers from alienation knowingly and with intent to defraud, devised, participated in it, paid me almost dirt, the destinies of destiny, the executor of the judiciary, to pay your salary in the way that pleases me. May God have mercy on every precious soul under the wealth, the various parties to the transaction, together with others. It's nothing I wanted. I didn't want to be away from you and a person tired of sacrifice without results. I was trying to, for God's sake, and deprivation and loss, employment, income, assets, and liabilities, let it pass on as many times as possible. Make the end of what remains of our lives better than what has passed, until the rope stays stretched between you and God, knowingly, combined, conspired, and agreed. Happiness, this is a true bill. 4. Happiness making the bodies. I was average. Use of wires, not by marriage nor by children, aided and abetted by others, known and unknown, not friends, or travel, not with certificates or with brands. I didn't have time to finish. I didn't have enough money, neither in positions nor in welfare, neither at homes. Houses in the States are made of wood. If you remember, their work is cut off, and we are their hope. Happiness, a true bill. Oh God, I remembered them, so bless me with those who remind me when the reasons are cut off. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance. Happier and worse. It was too late. Just take a deep breath and say, thank God, the next one better. And fear, it affects the heartbeat. You were too young. Oh God. And the time difference by the time they told me water, every dead person under the dust with a rain. Make it a year in which we don't have a chest. This is a prayer for our dead. Another Palestinian joke? I'm setting Lena up for that one. Lena has to tell a joke. One joke per night. That's my rule. I'll do one more. Terror counter. Not a joke, a poem. Although is the poem a joke? Maybe I've been joking the whole time. Maybe this was all part of the joke. I haven't finished telling the joke. I am kind of a Palestinian joke, if you think about it. Terror counter. Everybody loses me. I get lost. I am lost. A meal for a historical owl, my bones regurgitated, neatly piled in the black site of American literature. I was a we. We were a curse. Panic, debt, the United States District Court for the of, wood, stone, panic. Ours not to ever survive, ours to be done to and die, charge of the grand jury. Everything is extant, nothing is extricable. Grief codified like a promissory note. They have kept me in forms by myself, huddled against the sharp light of perpetuity, skin coated with a thinner film of terror, settling into relations. Half of what I say is meaningless, but I say it so the other half may reach you. Fingertips poking through breaks in the line. So lonely, I miss being surveilled. So desperate, I'd count every fear for you. Sing you to sleep with my hands in plain sight. But I am a we. We are the dirt. We tasted the future. You weren't there. Jaws of the world breaking on our tomorrow muscles kiss me in language of tunnels we need exorbitantly. We feel entirely alone. We condemn the recent. We are the recent, cannibalized for tax-exempt donations and sonnets. But tunnel takes me to future. Future pries my soul from my teeth and asks it what my name was and reminds me when I do not know. And when they come looking for us, God willing, we will be somewhere else. And at last I will remember how to forget myself, and in that wail of forgetting, be found. Thanks.
Thank you. Lena Khalaf Tuffaha. Did I say that correct? It's good to see you. Is a poet, essayist, and translator, and the author of 3 books of poetry, including Something About Living, winner of the 2024 National Book Award. Her work has been published widely, and she has also served as a translator and curator of contemporary Palestinian poetry. Please welcome Lena Khalaf Tuffaha.
Thank you all for being here. Do you need to wiggle for a minute? Last poet, you can do this. Whew. Okay, what an honor and a privilege to be among and to hear the words in the voices of their writers. Thank you all for your poems. Let's see, where to begin? So I am Palestinian because my father was Palestinian. He is from a village called Laizariya, or Bethany, which is kind of on the east of the old city of Jerusalem. And I would hear him talk about this village and about the prison that was in it, the Israeli prison called Al-Maskubiyya, which turns out borrows its name from the Muscovite church that's in the village. So, enter here. Our city gates are named for animals carved into its stones, for spiritual states, for exiles' destinations. Everyone loves a survivor. They scan for bruises, signs of process, hymns of futurity. Not all cities are built to shelter gods. Ours hosts neighborhoods of divinities. Our city grows legends in its alleys, blinds conquerors with its light. Survivors make endurance imaginable. Beyond the eastern gates, there is a prison named for a pilgrim's ancestry, a prison famous for its innovations in torture. Here, innovation culture reigns supreme. We're seeing some of that innovation culture in Minneapolis this week, turns out. I've been reading this poem a lot as I travel around the country, and I've come to think of it as a kind of prayer, so I offer it in that spirit. To be self-evident, after Edward Said. Every empire tells its subjects a story of revelation. The trees let down their aging leaves, listless in late drought. The children thrive on filtration, their classroom air and their selfies sanitized. Every empire seems invincible as its borders submerge, its manicured hillsides incinerate between guaranteed next-day deliveries. Every empire eulogizes its value system, splurges for pyrotechnics, decorates its mausoleums for the holidays. Every empire turns against its colonies, cradling the embassy's crystal in bubble wrap, packing extra treats for the dogs on the evacuation flight home. Every empire promises a revolution against itself. The children are tasked with designing the future, growing walls of hydroponic greens, rebranding old protest anthems. Every empire denies the iceberg it crashes into, hires a chorus, funds the arts. Every empire sings itself a lullaby. This is based on a true story and uses actually one of the names of the people from that story. I watched a news report about this couple from Nablus, and I will never be able to get the young woman's voice out of my head. On translation. Even when he told her it was imminent, Mira refused to break up with him. Readers might be moved if they imagine the fiancé had a fatal injury or a terminal illness. Mira tells the reporters that her fiancé entrusted a counselor at the courthouse where he tried to break off their engagement with his last will and testament. Tell her she's the best girl in the world. Tell her she is the most beautiful. Tell her these are my exact words. The word martyrdom fails Mira's heart and her beloved's. The word trauma does too. Mira says sometimes he would talk about settling down, about a home, but he also kept trying to let her go. You have a life to live. You're too young to be a widow. His last words to Mira are where language breaks. أما أنا طريقي معروف شو هو. To translate is to believe there is a reader. When he turned to leave the courthouse, the counselor ran after him with the final question in her arsenal, but the drones circling overhead drowned out his reply. Don't you want to wait to see her before you go? The narrow alleys of Old Nablus are cross-hatched in light and jasmine vines. That a heart will not back down when an armored vehicle barrels toward it is also a love story. Mira said, I'll be a martyr's wife then. In the final hour, her father called the fiancé and translated, listen, son, what happens to you happens to us. In December of 2025, my book was published in the UK and Ireland by a wonderful independent press called the 87 Press. And that edition of the book has a couple of extra poems, new poems in it. These poems were written after the genocide began. The rest of the book itself was all before the genocide, which is its own kind of strange haunting, the repetition we live in. Anyway, these are some of we'll call them the UK poems, though I'm loath to give the British any credit for anything in my life. The UK edition poems, anyway. The state of. Noun gerund of the verb to journey. A setting out. A departure. A boy's voice calls out from beneath what used to be the second story of a house. I am here, he cries. Can anyone hear me? I am here, and the night sky is sleeping on my chest. Noun gerund of the verb to leave. An exodus, a detachment. A father has gone in search of bread. A baker has gone in search of flour. A mother has gone in search of a cloud. A people have gone, a world in each of them. Noun gerund of the verb to travel. A parting, a demise. A girl steps on top of the walls of what used to be the third story of a house. I am searching for the sea, she cries. Has anyone seen it? It used to live in my window. This poem is entitled Grisaille, which for those who don't know, as I didn't before I read about this, it's a style of painting in grayscale. The method is simple and civilized. A canvas must be stripped, then prepared. The scale of shadows and highlights defined, a foundation of values laid out upon which the victor's colors will be saturated. Our children learn the maps of homeland in wartime, on screens emblazoned with their cousins' limbs. Vermilion streaks across the gaping craters of their leveled neighborhoods. It is said this technique comes from Europe. It is said the soldiers are livid for being forced to kill. It is said, disperse them. Our children study these images, their cousins' corpses light fast, their cries passing through networks of metal and verdigris, calling for water and father and air. It is said, more succinctly, flatten it all. It is possible for the light to be reflected back to the viewer for the effect of luminosity. And I think I'll share two new poems, like really new poems, so yikes, but it's Poets House, so I figure it's a good place to do it. I also want you to know, New York, that like there are Seattleites running your place. Did you know that? There's all these undercover Seattleites at Poets House, so that makes my heart happy. Okay, this is from a thing, I don't even know what to call it, that I'm working on, and all of these poems are entitled Otherwise. An eye rolls past its owner, lodges in the sand. At the checkpoint, a daughter cradles her father's glass eye in a velvet ring box. It is said he lost his eyesight, but not his vision. It remains to be seen if he was lost. News of his demise regularly blinks across the screen. On the shore, a boy trains his eyes on the horizon. A fleet has promised him a break in the siege. Among the detritus of tents, an eyelet nightgown on a clothesline is a softness that wounds. An eye for a clarion call, or so the genocide goes. An eye for endings is a rare gift when the whole world is blind. Otherwise. Winter readies its weapons and races over the ruins of the harbor. Mackerel carcasses, sewage, and spent munitions thicken the moist air. Even in the rainy season, death announces its intent, its endless variations. The onslaught is the onslaught and has no time to spare. Bodies decomposing lace November with their own metallic signatures, sulfur strafing the horizon. What is left of the city is consumed in cooking fires, drifts of ash sulking over the beach camp, ash of bookshelves, ash of bed frames, ash of the old baker's cart, ash of last Ramadan's paper garlands, of unsent letters, of a grandmother's rosebush, ash of remembered evenings. In the distance, the children are singing about the long night and its stars, about the martyrs whose blood is perfumed as cardamom. And I'll just end with a poem that was written really for one of my poet heroes, June Jordan, who I was never taught in any American classroom, neither in high school nor in college. And, you know, when you read her, you learn why. We would have different outcomes, as they say in education, if June Jordan were taught. We should teach June Jordan and get those outcomes like now. But I'm reading it today with an even heavier heart, because for me this poem is about finding, or is inspired by the moment of finding June Jordan's work on a bookshelf as a young Palestinian American and finding my name, the name of my homeland, in her poem in a way that like riveted me, because that wasn't a typical experience. It still isn't a typical experience. But anyway, I think it's come to mean a lot of different things. So make of it what you will. And I just want to say before I close, thank you so much to Poets House for having all of us and for including Palestinian voices in the 30th showcase and for creating this beautiful space for poetry. Yes, applause. Letter to June Jordan in September. I cannot pass the anniversary of that first news event of childhood without returning to your poem. How from my house I watched and watched my grief-stricken parents unable to speak. How I leaned into the screen, the chords of the cries, searching for what was recognizable of fingers and thighs, of bracelets and mustaches. Macabre arrangement of bodies with names like our own. I cannot pass without your words. Something about witnessing twice removed, about distances magnified by the shift into language, of dailiness and my own children's vernacular and the machine, grinding us all in its jaws. I met a girl from the camp at a reading in Beirut. She asked if we could talk about the life of poetry. Our families are hauled off to the world of the dead, and every day it is on screen. In Gaza, we're watching Ferguson, and in Atlanta, we're watching Jerusalem, watching Minneapolis, watching. Their weapons and their training programs indistinguishable. The word almost flickers for a nanosecond. Here, I note the shelf life of self-censorship, legacy of our era. Some days, poems are scrawled on pieces of cardboard and carried on our shoulders at the protest like martyrs. Here, I should say something about hope. Here, I should say something about living. Thank you so much.
It's beautiful. Thank you all so much for being here, for sharing your words, your art. We really do need art right now. And I think there's a moment to say hi to everyone and then head upstairs for a reception. There's also books for sale in the lobby. And I did want to tantalize you with one more joke if you were open to it, although it's not a Palestinian joke, it's a poet joke. Any takers? Takers? All right. Yeah, you want to do it? All right.
Now transition into the stand-up.
Yeah. So an Israeli goes to England, and when he's on the, he's checking in with the border control. Yeah, they ask him his name and all of that, and then they were like, occupation. He was like, no, just visiting.